Welcome to the Thrive Master Show. On this episode, we have Matt Beaudreau. He's the founder of Acton Academy Placer, which is a 21st century education program made for today's generation. He's also the co-founder of Apogee Program, where they train young men through mentorship, action, and self-discovery. And finally, he's the host of the Essential 11 podcast.
Matt, welcome to the Thrive Master Show.
Excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Glad for you to come on. We're getting right into it. Matt, if you had to give a master class from all the success in your zone of genius, what would it be on?
Ooh, the master class in the zone. It would literally be on how to shift your paradigm, and I mean that knowing that most people come from a place of fear and a place of living their life according to the status quo. So everything I've gotten to do with all the Fortune 500s that I've gotten to work with, I go in and I help them change their mindset around how they're running their business. And with the students that we have here on campus, we are shifting their mindset on how they attack their life. The parents that we work with, we are shifting their mindset around school and education and what that should look like. So I guess the master class would have to be around a paradigm shift.
Wonderful. Let's see where this attitude of yours comes from. What was your childhood like?
It was, I had a mix of a whole, I was very, very blessed, man, to have a mix of a whole lot of good and a whole lot of bad. Normal middle class suburbia in California. So there's a lot of good there, but the school that I went to, we had a really did have a full mix, man. We had, the richest of the rich, and we had the poorest of the poor. And we had, I have friends that went to prison while we were still in school. I have friends that are still in prison because they did some very bad things. But I also have friends that went on to be very, very successful. We had quite a unique mix. So I got to kind of see all of it there. And I had one really good parent and I had one really bad parent. And, so all of that was a learning experience. I got to learn, I'm thankful because I got to learn the things to do. And I also got to see very clearly what not to do as a parent and as a human being. So I think all that was beneficial, man. I'm thankful for it all.
Mm-hmm. I use this metaphor that we're all born like passengers in a car, but eventually we have to become drivers of our own life. Was there a moment for you that happened for you?
Yeah. I had the normal, again, kind of the normal upbringing. I was, school was easy. I figured out that game early on was, I was more about girls. It was more about sports. It was more about all that kind of stuff. But what that did was it made me this guy who got done with school and went, cool, now I have nothing to offer the world. I don't know who I am at all. So I guess I'll go to college, right? And you go to college and I got my straight A's again, but I came out with the same thing. I was better at sports. I was better at talking to girls, but I still had nothing to offer the world. I was, I didn't have much. So it was really at that point where I had to go, okay, well, I feel like I've actually just wasted my time. Like, who am I right now? What am I actually good at? What do I actually want to do with my life? Because I was told school was going to prepare me for this, and it definitely did not. School hasn't prepared me for it. So now I feel like I'm starting from ground zero. So it was at that point in my early 20s, I had turned down a job at the White House and decided to go just try to figure out who I was and what I was going to do. So it was that series of events at that point where I really started diving into my self-discovery that really turned the corner for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, from my perspective, it seems you started by asking yourself some important questions. Would you recommend people start there? As far as
Absolutely,
transforming
man.
their life?
Ask yourself what gets you fired. There's this common kind of thought today of, well, you got to follow your passion, right? And you follow your passion, and that's what's gonna bring it. I think that's nonsense. I think you've got to figure out who you are, but you need to bring your passion to everything. So if something seems sort of interesting, you need to bring your passion to it. I mean, if you're at the same time providing yourself, even in a way that at a job or, doing something that's not, you don't feel like it's super exciting, doesn't matter. You need to tell yourself you're going to bring your passion to that. And even if you're cleaning toilets, you're going to be the best toilet cleaner possible, right? And you're going to, the question that you ask yourself is, can I show up to be my best human being every single day, no matter what I'm doing? Because it's that's going to end up opening up the different doors. And, and if you bring your passion to trying as many things as possible, it's like finding your favorite food. Eat all the food, go to a buffet, try everything. And then at some point you're going to go, okay, because I've tried so much, now I know this is my favorite. And you've got to take that same approach. I'm going to try everything, and I'm going to try to be the best at every single thing. And eventually you're going to see what you are actually the best at.
Yeah. So next thing from the questions, it seems like the attitude that you bring to the table is very important. Did somebody help you with that? A resource, maybe a book? Did you study up on that, or did you have that within yourself?
Yeah, no, it was definitely something that had to be cultivated, and it had to be cultivated in a number of different ways. We have rules in our household, right? I actually have rules up on the wall, and these are rules that I abide by, my wife, my kids abide by, and we hold each other accountable. That means my children hold me accountable to those as well,
Yes.
right? One of those rules is to be a copycat. And what we mean by that is never to try to be somebody else, but you take a look at somebody who has an element, an aspect of their life that you admire, and you look at their patterns of behavior and their patterns of success. And if you resonate with that, then try to pull that little piece of that person, right? So over the years, what I've done is I have all of these, I call them my board of advisors, right? Where all of these people, there's about 11 or 12 of them in different parts of my life that I will look to. And even if I've never met that person, I'll be approaching the situation and go, okay, how would this person who's on my kind of board of advisors, how would they handle this? And I will try to act accordingly, right? And so I'm pulling together all these bits and pieces. That's one of it. That's one of the things. And then I also believe that you don't get to find out who you are without hardship, without struggle. And we talked about books. There's a book called Fight Club, was made into a more famous movie, right? And one of the quotes in Fight Club is, how much do you ever know about yourself if you've never been punched in the face? And what I take that to mean is, if you've never actually been challenged, you have no idea who you are. If you've never actually had to push yourself through something difficult, you have no idea who you are. So I've always tried to make sure I have a difficult challenge in front of me that I have got to accomplish and overcome. It's got to be something that makes me a little bit nervous, a little bit uncomfortable, and then I attack that all the time. I never don't have something that I am trying to attack. And that has helped, really cultivate true self-confidence, not a cockiness. A cockiness, you puff your chest out, but you've never actually done anything. Self-confidence comes from actually having overcome challenges. You come out the other side. And I always make sure I have a challenge in front of me.
Is that one of the rules for you and your kids and the family as well? Everybody does the challenges, so to speak?
You always, absolutely, you are personally responsible for everything. Discipline equals freedom. All of those play into taking on those challenges. Be the hardest worker in the room, be the nicest person in the room. All of those lead into making sure that you are continuing. Like, growth mindset is a non-negotiable in our house.
So now you're moving towards your success.
Yeah.
How did you in the past deal with obstacles versus now?
Yeah, I mean, like anybody else, right? Obstacles either seem scary and I would avoid it, right? Or obstacles, if I thought something was perceived failure, then of course I'd, you beat yourself up around that kind of stuff, right? Like, I wasn't immune to that. That was definitely a part of that. But now I look at obstacles as simply the way to get better. It's there's a gentleman by the name of Jocko Willink who's on kind of that board of advisors for me, right? And Jocko kind of has this saying where he just says, good. He says, something doesn't go right, you say to yourself, good, right? Good. Because what you learn is great. And then if that didn't go right, that's a good thing, because it's going to allow me the opportunity to get better, or it means there's a different door that's opening, right? The obstacle, it's a book by Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way. I very much believe that. Now I look at the obstacle and go, okay, that is simply illuminating my path of where I've got to go. I don't fear, failure at this point, because you only fail if you start playing the victim and all. If you look at something and you give it a go and it doesn't work out well, you learn from it. It's not a failure. A failure is if you don't try at this point. And so that's not even an option at this point.
I recently went on a 13-hour bike ride with my 5 and 7-year-old kid, and we broke it down over a couple of days.
Yeah.
And exactly as you said, you only find out yourself, and your kids will find out as well when they push themselves. And we got to meet all the internal language along the way,
That's right.
and now
That's
we
right.
have like a new standard that we get to work from and go forward.
That's exactly right. And your kids will always have that ride to look back on, right? And so then they can
Yes.
take on the next hard thing and they can go, okay, I can push through this because I remember back to that bike ride when we pushed ourselves through and I was so glad at the other end. So I know I can push through this. And then whatever that is becomes their new thing, their new cookie jar that they can reach back in and go, no, I had this experience. That's another benefit of the experiences. Not only do you
Mhm.
get to find out who you are through pushing through these experiences, you find out what you're good at, you find out what you like, but it gives you something to fall back on in remembrance. And again, that's where confidence actually comes from because you've actually done something.
Mhm. Now, the day to day now, you've accomplished success. You have your podcast. Can you talk a little bit about the impact you're making there and around the educational system?
Yeah, man. So we have what's now going to be three campuses that we run, and so our school campuses are K through 12, and they are a very different model. It is not like school that everybody goes through. It is a
Mhm.
workspace for young people. We are helping them to learn to be goal setters. We're learning them to or helping them to learn to start their own businesses. They're taking products and services to the market. Many of these kids are
Wow.
getting recruited straight out of here to go into six-figure jobs straight out of high school, right? So it is a very different kind of thing. So we've got three campuses now that I own and that we run. The podcast, we try to do one or two a week, and we've got just rock stars from all over the world that pour into the kids. And again, this is all around the kids. It's advice from these rock stars to the youth, and it's also brings in sponsorships where we can scholarship kids here in the area. So
Mhm.
all that's going well. Tim Kennedy and I are launching a program January 1st. That's all around mentorship for young men of high school age. We've
Mhm.
already got hundreds of signups for that as well. We want to get to about 1,000 on that, 1,000 young people that we want to mentor this next year, 2021.
Mhm.
And then, I was doing 50 or 60 keynotes a year. And I'm now that,
Wow.
now that we're in this space, everything is virtual on that, but I'll still do a few virtual keynotes for some clients this year as well. So, all good stuff, man. I'm excited to get to do what I get to do.
So it seems like the education program that you're offering is like all the things I wish I had learned in the other school system.
You and me both.
Do you remember how it was born?
You and
Do
me
you remember
both.
how it
Well,
was born, the idea for you to run this?
oh yeah, man. So I was in the public schools, right? So I was a public school teacher. I was a public
Yes.
school administrator. And I was a private school teacher, and I was a private school administrator. And I worked, at Stanford University. I worked at many of the top universities in the country and worked with a lot of the top universities. All of those just help strengthen the resolve and show me that school, as far as the system that we have set up, is not about kids at all. It's
Mhm.
about money. It's about politics. Don't get me wrong. There are phenomenal teachers. There are
Yes.
great teachers. There are great administrators. They are great people, but they are operating within a system that is not designed to unleash the genius that we have inside of us. The systems are not designed for that. They're designed to create obedient,
Mhm.
moderate thinking, very, very basic workforce that's very, very suggestible, that has agendas that have been sprinkled into them. It's not created for a human being. So
Mhm.
understanding all of that and seeing all of that, I got to the point where my oldest child, was getting ready to go into school. And so there was no way I was going to have her go into a school environment. So, I wanted to look around and see, is there a network? Are there individuals that are doing things different, that are doing things better that I could partner with, and we can blow this, kind of
Mhm.
blow this wide open, create a better model. And that's when I found, the Acton Network, and it's a group of individuals that are, many just like myself that are wanting to do something different and better for our kids. And so we've banded together, now globally, we're in 30 some odd different countries, um, putting these campuses, putting these campuses
Wow.
out. So, but it was for my own kids that I had to do it.
Now I have 2 kids and one on the way, and we homeschool. So is this something that can be
Congrats.
applied to homeschooling, or is it in a physical space alone?
Congratulations on that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very, very cool on the kid. And that's actually the exact same ages. So you've got a 7, a 5, and one on the way. So it's going to be the same age gap as my 3 kids are as well, which is very cool. Homeschooling is great. I would recommend, if people can homeschool and not have to go through the traditional system, I would recommend them doing that 10 times out of 10. Absolutely. That's exactly what we would have done if this had not taken off. This is a little different. There are elements of it that, of course, you can absolutely apply to the homeschool part of that. Of course there are. But it is, the energy and the opportunities that we're able to magnify because we have a community of this, that helps. I mean, it really does. And us being part of this global network, whereas, we don't have to rely on all of the good ideas and good projects. Somebody from Tennessee may make a project and share it with all of us, and we go, ooh, that's going to be great. Let's integrate that here, and we didn't have to create that. And so the network that we get to create because of that, it just magnifies things and magnifies the opportunities for our kids. So that's huge. But, if I wasn't able to do that, we'd homeschool.
Wonderful. Now, as far as the public schooling system, a lot of people can complain about it, but you actually took action and started to create a different model, which is very important.
Yep.
And the key word there is you took action. So
that's it. That's it. That's one
exactly.
that's one of the rules in our house, man. One of the rules in our house is no complaining, fix it.
Fix
right?
it.
There's if you are just gonna complain, everybody can find something wrong about everything.
Yes.
That's easy to do. There's you all know the stories of the guy sitting on the couch eating Cheetos on the weekend who wants to talk about how Tom Brady shouldn't have made that pass and it got picked off, right? And they want to be like, who wants to be that guy? And you can be that guy for anything in life. Everybody can pick out problems. It's very few individuals that will actually go, okay, how do I fix that? If it's important enough to me to complain about, then I need to come with a solution and do what I can do to fix it. Do whatever is within my power. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Wonderful. Now, last few questions. Now, going forward for you, because you mentioned you have some projects coming up. How do you design? How do you dream going forward? How do you make the future become a reality?
Yeah, it starts with kind of what we were just talking about, right? When I see something that is a problem, and it's a problem, a lot of times the best ideas start with something that is affecting you personally, on a personal level, right? And so that's obviously what it was with the education space. I saw something that was, that needed to be fixed. And if I didn't fix it myself, my kids were going to be thrust into something I didn't believe in, right? So I couldn't have that happen. So same thing. We've got this educational model. Everything is going really, really well. We're going to continue to grow that and expand that because that's solving the need for so many people in our community. It's providing not just now for my kids, but so many families. So that's a great thing. But the next phase of that too, one of the things that we saw was, our young men specifically are being cut off at the knees early on. We take our young men and we want to, our culture wants to soften them. And I'm not saying to do the big macho, like it's nothing to do with that, but our young men are afraid to lead. They're afraid to challenge themselves. They're afraid to push themselves physically. They're afraid to stand up because you're going to get criticized. If you do anything, you're going to get criticized, right? So they're afraid to speak up. They're afraid to have a voice of their own. They're afraid to think. It's much easier to follow the status quo, but it's created a culture where we don't have strong male leaders. And that to me is the problem. So this was, the Apogee program that Tim Kennedy and I are putting together is our attempt at a solution to the problem. So this next year we'll have a very big focus on building up young men all around the world to be the classic masculine man. We've been told masculinity is toxic. Being a jerk is toxic. Masculinity in the classic sense is anything but. It is somebody that's going to stand up for what's right. It's somebody that's going to treat other people with respect at all times. It's somebody that's going to provide, but also knows how to protect, right? Yes. That they have that physical capability as well. and at the end of the day, they're going to do what's right by humanity versus what's popular by humanity. And those are usually not the same thing. The following the masses is usually dangerous. As we always say, the M is usually silent, right? You usually follow.
That's right.
So that's really it. And so we want to build up more men of character, good character.
Now, what's the name of the school, and the Apogee is a program?
Yeah, so our schools are Acton Academy, so ACTON, right? And so we
Okay.
are Acton Academy Placer, which is just the county that we're in here in California is Placer County. So that's we're Acton Academy Placer. The program that Tim and I are creating is called Apogee, so APOGEE, Apogee. And Apogee is the pinnacle of something.
Okay.
That's what an apogee means. It's the pinnacle. It's like the height of the mountain. So our program is called Apogee, and it's a year-long mentorship program. So it starts January 1, and then a new class will start every single month. So, if you start February 1st, it'll go February 1st through, it's for 12 months from then. If you start March 1st, it's 12 months from then. It's a 12-month program.
And that one is just for kids, or is that
that one is just for teenage males right now, because it's all virtual right now.
That's right.
And there's direct mentorship from Tim and I, from other special operations guys, from other well-known male leadership figures in our country. We'll be jumping on and helping pour in to those kids. And there are 12 books that you'll go through. There's a unit of brothers that you'll go through. There's workouts. There are 12 character challenges. There's 12 projects, all of those to help build a strong, capable, character-driven young man.
Now, I have a practical question for my own self.
Yeah.
This thought came up, I have kids at home, and maybe to encourage them to be solution solvers, problem solvers.
Yep.
If a problem comes up at home, would I just encourage them, okay, if you can solve it, you're going to be rewarded, like, is it on a practical sense, like, whatever the problem might be, whatever.
Yeah, it's what you want to do is start to instill the idea that that's the mindset they've got to get into, right? Like, okay, I have got to fix the problem, and I've got to fix it without mom or dad's help. That's the mentality that you want to instill at a young age. And especially if that hasn't been the mentality that has been instilled at this point, you've got to take the lead as the parent and go, okay, we're going to solve this issue rather than complaining. We're going to solve this issue. And let's sit down and figure out what a solution would look like. What are your ideas? Let's talk about this. You're going to have to facilitate that for a while before they facilitate it for themselves, right? So you're going to have to help them with that facilitation. There's this kind of idea that's been pervading society that, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old is completely a sovereign individual and will ultimately figure everything out. And that's dangerous. We need good mentors. That's what parents are for, to be those good mentors, to give the guidance, to give, there's lanes on a highway for a reason. You can all go wherever you want to go, but we need to do it in an order that makes it so nobody crashes and dies. So it's the same thing. You guys are providing those lanes consistently for them to understand that. Once you've provided those lanes long enough, then they can start to take ownership of doing that themselves. And by the way, that also starts with any problems you guys are having as a family. Even if it's something that you're able to take your kids into, and you're like, hey, your mom and I are working through this right now. Here's how we're going to work through it. Here's what we're going to talk about, whether it's problems between you guys that are shareable, or whether it is something you guys are looking at from a financial decision, whether even if they don't understand what you're talking about, and you're trying to figure out, can we afford this house? Can we not afford this house? Can we buy this business? Can we not? Can we make this move in our business? Can we not? Even if you're making those decisions, if you can incorporate them into that, one of the things I always tell parents is kids will tend to do what it is that you do far before they ever do what you say.
Yes.
So you need to be the example of that for them and bring them into it. Let them see you have those real world discussions. Let them see that you're not going to complain. You're going to try to fix the problem. Right? Invite them to be a part of that, and they will understand that, okay, that's just what we do in this house. And they will start to do that themselves, that you'll be able to guide them, up front, and then eventually be able to step away more and more and more, so that they are taking on that responsibility themselves.
Wonderful. Matt, where can people follow you? What's the best place?
I appreciate it, man. So just my name, Matt Beaudreau, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can go there. I would love for anybody listening, if they want to check out The Essential 11 is the name of the podcast. So definitely check out The Essential 11. We got a lot of great guests on there, people that everybody here knows. And then keep a lookout for Apogee Strong. So APOGEE strong.com. If you got a young teenage male in your life that could use some mentorship.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time, man.
Pleasure, man. Appreciate all you're doing.